We will take questions. Please identify yourself and the media house you represent before you ask your question. We shall start in the front, Stephen.
Good morning, good afternoon. Stephen Crudges from Eyewitness News. Good afternoon, Stephen Crudges from Eyewitness News. Minister, I took your health warning at the beginning seriously, but I'm going to have to ask the obvious question, I'm afraid.
And I have the right to not answer, but go ahead.
Absolutely.
We're a democracy, so you must ask.
The Gupta family, to your knowledge, did they or a member of their companies or Jesse Duarte offer Deputy Minister Mcebisi Jonas the position of Finance Minister?
I think on the second point that you make, on the question of Ms. Duarte, we issued a statement this morning as Treasury, indicating that what the Sunday Times said was a senior source in the Treasury is one that is unknown to us, that we know nothing about that, and in any event, so-called senior officials are not required to enter into the political terrain on these sorts of matters. And if we do find out that somebody crossed the line, we'll deal with that. But we can assure Ms. Duarte that the Treasury is not in the habit of engaging in this kind of conduct.
And the first part of my question?
That my silence tells it all.
Thank you. Miriam Issa from the Sunday Times. One of the concerns which investors consistently raise about South Africa's economy is the need for labor reform. I was wondering on this trip whether the investors that you met raised that question again, and what sort of response did our labor representatives give them, and what sort of assurances could they give them about increased labor stability in the country?
Okay, we'll take the next one, right next to Miriam.
Thank you, Minister. Sam Kokeli from Business Day. Could you please give us an example on the political questions that were asked on the roadshow? Thank you. Some specifics, examples? Thank you.
Olani Banjwa from the City Press newspaper. Minister, you spoke about political questions that were raised by investors. One would assume that the question of the so-called 912, what happened to the former Minister Nhlanhla Nene, there have been reports that indeed investors raised those concerns. What was the response of the delegation or the minister to that? And also, did they raise any issues about the rift between you and the SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane, and what was your response to those questions? Thank you.
Okay, one last question for this round.
Thank you. Hajra Marji from Power FM. Minister, I'm going to push you a little bit on your silence. Should we take that to mean that is a confirmation that Mcebisi Jonas was offered the position of finance minister by the Guptas under certain conditions? Secondly, you said that those that you met asked for milestones and progress, as well as evidence that we are progressing and not just talks and plans. What should those milestones be that we should watch for? And then while you were away, former President Kgalema Motlanthe said to us that he's concerned about the rate in which government is borrowing money, which includes SOEs. He gave a number of 11 billion rand a day was being borrowed internationally by government and SOEs. Did any of those that you met with raise any issues around whether or not they're concerned about South Africa's ability, our ability as taxpayers, to pay back those huge sums?
Okay, thank you. That is it for this round.
For the others. On the question of labor reform, my labor colleague will address that. In terms of the political questions and 912, yeah, 912 was raised by many. It's a phenomenon that we mustn't think stayed within the borders of South Africa. Anybody and everybody that has an interest in South Africa observed what was happening at the time. All they want is indications of stability And we assured them as the Treasury that we are here to do a piece of work, and we will continue to do that piece of work as long as we can, and we're prepared to serve the country as is required. Moyane and company, often you guys get it wrong. You know, Moyane is not a minister. He's the equivalent of the head of an administration. So that's the first one. There's no equality between Moyane and a minister. Secondly, the president has said he's got a process that's dealing with this matter, so let's give it a bit of time. But certainly that issue was raised as well. I think those are enough as specifics, if you like, on the political side. Then on Deputy Minister Jonas, which Stephen, you asked as well, so let me, since Hajra is pushing on your behalf, I have no personal knowledge of this, so there's nothing I can tell you. You've addressed the question while I was away to the Treasury. You have a response on the record. I think when there is anything further to add, we'll let you know. But that's the response as we stand. On borrowing, I think the DG must do some work now. So 11 billion rands is not much. But let me ask our colleague to first address the labor issue. Check if Mr. Kovadia wants to say anything on the business milestones, and if anybody in the front there wants to add.
Thanks, Minister. I hope you can hear me from, can you?
Oh, you've got that point as well, okay.
Yes. Thank you, Minister. As mentioned, my name is Joseph Makageni. I'm the president of NACTO, National Council of Trade Unions, but as I sit here, I represent FEDUSA and COSATU, because we're all of us in the roadshow. Regarding the question on the labor reform and labor stability, I hope you understand that for now, there are two issues that are under a committee led by the Deputy President of the country, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. One of them is the Labor Relations Amendment that deals with before workers or employees go to a legal, protected industrial action, they go for ballots. That issue, almost all the unions have got that in their constitutions. If not, it's just few, and we're encouraging. Secondly, the prolonged and violent strikes or industrial action. I hope also you are aware that there's a task team under the auspices of NEDLEC that is dealing with that matter to ensure that if the strike is very long, because for the first before that, we don't actually need strikes, whether it's protected or not protected, but it's a right that we have as workers, as labor movement. Where do we start? We're saying let's improve the labor relations at the workplace so that it does not lead. But if it leads to that, because it's our constitutional right, it must go peacefully. It must not be long. If it is long, there's a process already in NEDLEC to look at the issue of arbitration awards that can declare the strike legal or illegal or protected or unprotected if it has not passed the image that I've said, your ballot and your non-violent, because we are opposed to that. As such, a number of investors indeed understand where we come from, because fortunately, whilst we were in Europe, there was a dispute around the corner, and the workers were to go to a protected industrial action. So we saw it in practice, but it should be non-violent. It should not be long. It should look at issues. It should be balloted so that members of unions, indeed, in their majority, must agree with that process. Thanks, Minister.
Thank you, Minister. Look, the big issue is this. The report of the Economic Forum that came out measured South Africa to be dead last when it comes to labor relations between employers and workers. Now, such a situation is only going to downward spiral us even further, and it will not support inclusive economic growth. Organized labor has put a proposal on the table that they want to have a deep engagement with business and with government on how do we improve productivity in South Africa within the context of total factor productivity, and how can we support inclusive economic growth and job creation. So those are the kinds of discussions that we want to have, and as the Minister indicated, the actions has to be following up on a very short time, because it's important that we make our country more globally competitive so that we can export more. Thank you.
Just on the issue of milestones and evidence of real concrete action. This was raised virtually at every meeting, and our response has been that there is an interaction between business and government currently. Some of us are of the view that this interaction is very concrete. It's led by chief executive officers who are very seized with the interaction. We've also met with labor, all three federations, and they are talking to their members about actually joining the government business initiative, so that it's a tripartite initiative that actually drives this. As part of this initiative, we've, as business, indicated that we are working on a number of issues. One is to look at industries that are on the backs at the moment, like mining, agriculture, construction, and to actually meet with chief executive officers of corporations in those industries and develop real concrete investment projects to actually get them off the back. Also to look at industries that with growth potential, but we believe we haven't fully exploited that growth potential, like tourism, like export-led manufacturing. And again, to meet with CEOs there and see what sort of investments we should be looking at. And that work is has started, it's ongoing, and in what we've indicated to investors is that in the next 3 months, we will put on the table what the plans are and what the time frames are for actually rolling those out, so that we are concretely showing that we've got the plan and we will roll them out. We're also looking at areas of enterprise development, particularly small and medium enterprises, both existing and new, and there we're looking at things like a development equity fund to which business and government will contribute to provide appropriate financing, non-financial support. We're talking to government about red tape and regulations that actually make it very difficult for businesses to start in this country. And we're talking to corporates to say that we need an economy that actually enables entry to small and medium enterprises. So in major corporates, procurement chains, and other areas of activity, to ensure that we allow a situation for SMEs to actually participate in those. And we will put some concrete stuff on the table around that in the next 3 months as well. So that's a commitment from business, all the work we're doing to actually really show traction. And we believe that if we have this tripartite arrangement related to that we can actually take that up even a notch further.
And the final point was about government borrowing. So we have to respectfully disagree with the former Deputy President. And we've spoken about the 11 billion before. Shouldn't be strange to you, but let the Director General explain.
Maybe I should start by just explaining the most important part of the borrowing situation, which is that if you want to work out how much we borrow, which adds to our debt on a net basis per week, you should take the financing requirement number and divide it by 49. It will not come to 11 billion. And of course, let me add quickly then to that, which an important point, which is that our debt is affordable, it is sustainable. We are very transparent about it. The reason the market is lending us money is because they know the situation, not only now, but also it projected into the future. It is important, of course, as the budget that was presented on the 14th sought to demonstrate that we must stabilize that debt. It must cease to rise. It must reach the peak and possibly, in fact, definitely begin to fall beyond that point. Where does 11 billion come from? The difference between what you will get when you divide that financing number by 49, which is the number of weeks, is that government does have to borrow more in any given week to finance the mismatch between the inflows in the different revenues and the outflows in terms of the expenditures, what we transfer to local government, provinces, and departments as per the requisitions. So a significant part of that is cash management. It's cash management largely relating to treasury bills, the maximum or the longest of which is a year. So if you look at the treasury bill line on a table in the chapter on asset and liability management, you will see that we reflect there usually the net change in treasury bills. So that's the number that represents an addition to the stock of debt. The other bit gets offset by the cash that comes in and the fact that some of those treasury bills on a regular basis are redeemed.
Those who want further elaboration stay after the press conference. We'll give you a lecture on it.
Shall we take one last round of questions, please? And we will start that side of the room and move that way. Thank you. Sorry, we didn't get... Oh, yes. Thank you.
Thulasizwe Semelane from ENCA. Minister, I've got a question that is political and a question that has to do with the economic aspects of the roadshow that you undertook. The question that is political, in your statement that you issued in response to reports that there's a new deadline now for you to answer the questions from the Hawks by 1600 hours today, you have said that there's a word that you used, the Hawks and those that instruct them. I find that quite interesting, and it's not the first time you have suggested that there's more to this investigation by the Hawks and the questions particularly as they relate to you. So if you would, because it's really a serious allegation that the Hawks are not being instructed by the structures and the command team that we all expect them to be constitutionally. So if you could just elaborate a little bit what you mean by that, and those people who are not, who don't have the best interests at heart of South Africa. Could corporate capture have anything to do with all of that, corporate capture of the state? Then secondly, if I could ask you about Minister Mcebisi Jonas, you and the Deputy Minister Mcebisi Jonas, you and the Deputy Minister enjoy a good working relationship as far as I can tell. Did he confide in you about any meetings that may have taken place? Because if you say 9/12 was so significant, it even left our shores and was raised on so many levels. Surely at some point he must have said to you that, before you came in, this happened. If you can clarify that. And then a broad question on the economics of it all. Minister, the roadshow you've undertaken, has it given you any new insights in terms of what are the immediate things that need to happen to avoid a ratings downgrade? And is a ratings downgrade our major concern, or it's one thing to worry about a ratings downgrade, but we are actually in a vehicle that's headed downslope? How do we get this vehicle moving up again? And are we focusing enough on both of those things? And where does the NDP fit in all of that? I know it's a wide-ranging question, but I'm hoping to get as much from you as possible. Thank you.
There's three here.
Okay, and please be brief with your questions in the interest of time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Minister, and thank you for taking my question. It's Bonola from the New Age. I just wanted to find out, how would you rate the media's coverage on what has been dubbed the SARS wars? Do you think the media has been fair in its coverage? And secondly, since the country's economy teeters towards junk status, do you think that the media has, if I could say, poured oil on the already fanning flames of South Africa's economy? Thank you.
Afternoon, Minister. Funeko from Reuters. I wanted to ask, after the roadshow, has Treasury reconsidered issuing an international bond? Thank you.
Hi, thanks. It's Hannah Zaidi from MoneyWeb. Just two questions. The one, did any investors raise concerns over the ruling party alliance? And kind of, was any discomfort expressed around that alliance and the power that Labour appears to wield over the ruling party? And then another question on the budget review, did investors express any kind of disappointment on, we wanted to see that in the budget review, or this, in terms of tax changes or anything related to the budget that they were hoping to see and didn't see? Thanks.
Okay, a quick one while we're getting the mic to this side.
Minister, it's Angelo Coppola from CCTV. Two questions very briefly. Did investors express any concern about existing legislation besides the Mining Act? Was there any other legislation they were anxious about? And then secondly, if we do get downgraded, what's plan B?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Minister. Good afternoon. It's Renee Volgra from Bloomberg. Minister, linking to the Hawks question of earlier, I just wanted to know, in the letter yesterday you said that neither you nor your lawyers received such a letter by Friday the 11th. So have you or your lawyers since received the letter that the Hawk is referring to? And then also, will you be responding in any way to the letter if you or your lawyers have received it?
Hi, Minister. Hi, Minister. Michael from ANN7. You've said you have no public knowledge, or you have no personal knowledge of the alleged meeting which took place between your deputy and the Guptas and Dudazane Zuma. Despite your lack of personal knowledge, are you going to be approaching your deputy to gain clarity on whether or not this alleged meeting took place, as the Guptas have come out and stated that Atul Gupta was out of the country at the time? So just to remove the cloud around the issue. Thank you.
Natasha from the Business Day. Sorry, Minister, the question is related to governance at SARS. I just wanted to find out whether the advisory board under the leadership of Judge Frank Kroon is going to be dissolved, or whether it's going to be, its term is going to be extended, or it's going to be changed. I just wanted clarity on that. Thanks.
Feril Hafaji from City Press. Sir, may I ask if you've ever been courted by, been to a meeting with, or visited the Gupta family? And secondly, if I could ask for the... Sorry. And may I ask, what would be the top 5 things on the table's agenda as concrete evidence or milestones to be met over the 3 months before we face the next ratings set of inquiries?
Last question. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. And Zagisi Mashangani from Business Day. Just on the, to add on the...
You're hiding. Okay.
Just on the, to add on the questions that have been asked on downgrades, did investors say anything about a downgrade to junk and whether they would still find South Africa attractive should that happen? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Minister.
Okay, on the downgrade matter, I think the one thing we should clarify is that Moody's, that is visiting South Africa this week, has us 2 notches above sub-investment grade. So even if we do have a downgrade, it'll still be in line with the other ratings agencies. I think for the novices in this field, it's important for you to understand that. So yes, a couple of the investors did raise the downgrade issues. Some even said, we don't take the ratings agency seriously. We have our own analyses of the country, and that actually guides us. By and large, I think ratings agencies and what they say is important from the point of view that they are affirming that we have the ability and willingness to pay. That's what they're supposed to pass judgment on. But now it goes into growth, political circumstances, and so on as well. So let me reaffirm, I think, what the Director General was saying, is that we do have the ability and the willingness to pay. We have a very sustainable debt trajectory from this point onwards, and that part of our intent over the medium term is to taper off debt to GDP below 50%, which is well below the upper limit of 60% that used to apply in days gone by. On new insights from the roadshow, yeah, the new insight is that they listen to everything you say very carefully. So that relates to the other question as well. People who are invested in any country, this is not unique to South Africa. It'll be the same with Turkey, with Brazil, with any other emerging market country that might have one or other phenomenon developing. And we are not the worst off in the world, so be assured of that as well. There are many countries that are in a worse position than ourselves. And therein lies our optimism, that we do have the possibility as a country to actually pull our socks up, get proper things done, do it the right way, unite all the good people in this country who want to contribute to growth and employment and development, and overcome the historic problems that we have. And we'll be much better for it in 2 or 3 years' time than we are at the moment. And I'm convinced of that as well. On the question of the role of the media and junk status, I'll let you judge that. If I say to you that everybody is watching South Africa very carefully, and they see sometimes an embattled nation, then we've got to ask the question, what's the public narrative we're putting across in South Africa, and how we deal with some of these issues? Have we reconsidered an international bond raising? No. Why should we reconsider? When the time is right and the market is right, the Director General and his colleagues will make the decision to do whatever we need to do. We make sure that we don't pass the 10% mark in terms of debt in foreign currency, which is a decision made some time ago, followed since then, which has held us in extremely good standing. So the bulk of our borrowing is in rand from South Africa. So when the time is right, the officials concerned will make the right decision. The power of Labour, well, Labour was with us for 1.5 days, so nobody ran out of the room because they saw Labour with us. They appreciated the fact that business and Labour were part of the single delegation. They appreciated the fact that we had this broad united front representing the interests of this country, and passionate about it as well. Every single member who was in the delegation. The budget review and what's missing? No, many raised the question like you did immediately after the budget, where is the VAT? So we pointed out there was no need for VAT at this stage. Whether it's VAT or another kind of levy, or it's the tax you're going to pay on the next sugary cold drink that you're going to have, or the next income bracket that we might introduce, those are all options available to us in the next 2 years. So they were quite satisfied with that answer. Any concerns about other laws? No, not really, except they want certainty around some of the laws that we might have created uncertainty around. And like I said, from a government point of view, we understand that and will be responding to it. What's the plan if we get downgraded? Get upgraded. Simple plan, but it's not as simple to do. Once you get downgraded, on the average it takes you, what, 5 years or more to work your way up again. So you don't want to end up there as a country for whatever reason. And that's why we make this earnest appeal at all times. Don't worry about all this other news that is circulating in the air. Focus on what's good for the country, what's good for the economy. Let's do our best so that future generations will actually say this generation did try its best and left behind a much better and more stable economy than we might have had before. The ferial question. Which one? Right, so the concrete evidence, I thought you were going to deal with whether you had dinner with the Guptas or not.
The question was to you, Minister. And you said it's a personal one.
So, no, the answer, Ferial, is no. I'm a very quiet person. I stick to my corner. On Natasha, on the advisory board, the deadline is tomorrow. We'll make up our minds. I've been, as you can see, busy with other matters until now. So we'll advise you as soon as we have made the decision on that. Mr. Mabuza will address that question. Am I going to approach the DM? I'm sorry, that's my business. If I do, forgive the sharp response, but the Hawks and the letters. Now, what was upsetting about the independent papers yesterday was that the journalists wrote that there was a new letter. So I spent 3 hours looking for this new letter with my attorneys, etc., etc. But the letter that, in fact, she was writing about was a letter of the 3rd of March. And the response to that letter was also sent out with the statement that I issued as well from the attorneys. You might or might not have seen it, but there's a response. And what the response says, amongst other things, is please tell us in terms of what legislation or piece or part of legislation you are doing whatever you're doing. And that, and the statement says, once we have that clarity, we'll take legal advice and do whatever is the right thing to do, and that no one is above the law. So I'm afraid that those front page articles were very misleading. But interestingly, that's the second letter that was leaked. That's the important part. Right? Why do you have to leak these things? If you want to talk about them, have a press conference like us, put all the facts on the table and talk about it. No need to leak in order to malign people. But anyway, let me not get carried away with that. That one is done. You want to answer the
Yes, Minister. Thank
concrete
you.
evidence?
And really, I think you and Team South Africa have really done us proud, Minister. It's a very difficult time for our economy indeed, and thanks to you, South Africans. Minister, to Ferial's question about the 5 milestones, I think firstly, it's just recognizing that there is co-responsibility here, government, labor, and business. Business both as investors and also as employers. And the call that Minister, you and I were tasked by the President was indeed to come up with some concrete ideas, actionable ideas, with clear milestone and time frames. Actually, the President wants us to come back to him with a report by May. While said it, let me just emphasize, this is not a new structure. There are existing structures where government, labor, and business engage, and they are from the Presidential Review Commission, NEDLAC. Those should continue to do the work they do. But this particular exercise was the very first one, this road show. But more importantly, the most important thing that the team tried to achieve was at least to get all South Africans just to understand that we are in a crisis stage. The downgrade will push us even further into recession. And I think by and large that we have achieved. Going together, Labour, government and minister on the road shows was indeed a demonstration that we understand that this is an economy that we all have co-responsibility for. We also understand that notwithstanding our various differences that are normal in the nature of the relationship we have, we understand there will be pain. There will be more pain if we get downgraded. There will be trade-offs that we need to make, all of us. The second 2 points, Cass did speak to them, was the 2 projects that have got these other work streams that are working on. The one was on the small and medium enterprise, and the work that is being done there was, as Cass said, identify the many institutions that are small and medium enterprise. Look at what it is that are the gaps there. What is it that needs to be improved? A piece of work that Adrian Gore and Brian Joffrey have to pull this together. We should be ready to be reporting to the minister for sign-off and then take it to the president in due course. And we found that there is more than just the unavailability of money. Money seems to be, there's a lot of. It's ideas. sounds silly, the difference between turnover and profit. Being paid on time. Small business getting their money on time means a lot to them. Currently, government who are customers of small business and big businesses, is no small business around. The other area was on these vulnerable and potentially job-creating industries. And Cass has spoken about that, to see what are the gaps, what are the challenges, what are the opportunities in those. And we are ready in the next week, Minister, to be coming back to you to present the work that Sim Shabalala and Dr. Dan Machila are convening. They've spent a lot of time with the banking community looking at those, as Cass said, from mining to agriculture to tourism, and indeed manufacturing, pharmaceuticals, and such industry. So, Minister, those are the 5 things that we're working on, Fariel, and we do think they are with certain milestones and they are with certain time frames, and we will be able by May to present.
I'd like to add my congratulations. It really was a pleasure to be part of such a professional team over there. And I think the message that we sent, going collaboratively, business, labor, and government, sent a message of change already to that market. They want more from us, but at least this was a signal that sent something very serious to them, that something is different in terms of the way we're addressing this.
Okay, so on that note, we have many things going for us in South Africa. I think more of us need to appreciate that and communicate that, and we can, if we work together, avoid the downgrade, get higher economic growth, and begin to take this country even into higher terrain and better terrain than we might find ourselves at the moment. So we hope our optimism has infected you as well. Thank you very much.